Hello, Naginaiolo101 here, and I ended up with a very nasty little troll this morning. I woke up to a nasty little message on YouTube from some guy named Pixel Wolf, or whatever the hell he calls himself. And I decided to actually do something intellectual to him. I used something that I do not use often, and I often do not like using on people. Tao-Te-Chin. There is also, I did mention a few things. I also mentioned the Analects, which, yeah. And I used the Analects also on him about the, the student and the, there it is. Now, I don't go lightly and do, hey, let's discuss this. I do not often talk about it. But, there is, the way my Taoism is written, it's written kind of out of order. So I went to page 59 of mine, which is the Tao opening. And I said, okay, number 1, or number 46, states, the ways that can be walked are not the eternal way. The names that can be named are not the eternal name. The nameless is the origin of the myriad creatures. The named is the mother of the myriad creatures. Therefore, always be without desire in order to observe its wondrous subtleties. Always have desire, so that you may observe its manifestations. Both of these derive from the same source. They are different names and same designation. Mystery of mysteries, the gate of the wonders. Okay. I also said number 2 as well, but honestly, I'm not going to go into that right now. But what I had done is basically told him that I'm walking away. And truthfully, the reason I walked on him is because he was being kind of an idiot. There is a story of Confucius who had a student, and the student asked him a question about being, well, stupid. And what Confucius had said about being stupid is that an exemplary person who lacks knowledge is not an exemplary person, but is a fool. And, well, basically, the guy was being foolish, and in my eyes, even if I did school him on Confucian or Taoist belief structure, it would not have saved me any more trouble than saying, you know what, I am a furry, therefore screw you. So I didn't really think much of it, and I ended up earning the respect of somebody on that group, and I don't know why, but I said that even if you are that intelligent, people are going to say you're stupid. Okay, I like furry artwork, I like anime, I like all that, but one of the things about having to say it, and also I said, congratulations, Nagi, you just told a total stranger you can read. Because he also didn't quite grasp the fact that ever since I was a little kid, I've been told to kill myself, okay? I was born with a learning disability. I've been told ever since I was a child that I don't deserve to live, and I am a curse. I'm a cursed person, blah, 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 all that bullshit. But, yet, here I am, reading this, and making comments, and doing commentary on my own mental states. When it comes to Confucianism and all this stuff, I absolutely love talking about the different states of human education. This is, in a sense, to me, I don't exactly condone a lot of what Confucius taught, but when it comes to the discourse of human ideas, I'm trying to find the goddamn quote that I used. But what I used was a comment about, if you're going to learn something, learn about the way, which is the Li, or the Ren, keep true to that one, therefore you will learn the Li. So what I was always telling myself is, so I have to learn to begrudgingly dumb down my speech patterns to the matter of what I actually will say to people. So if anyone ever actually asks me, and I mean literally asks me how intelligent I am, I usually have to pretend to be stupid in order to get something said. This is actually a really stupid way of living and a really dumb thing to do, but unfortunately it is something that when people tell me, oh, you have a learning disability, you must be, and then they stick in the R word, and then they don't follow through with, oh, you must be this. There was something that Dogen had said in Moon and the Dewdrop, and that even says in my quite a bit on what people perceive as stupid and what is not stupid. Okay, I'm going to point out people who think that I am stupid have never actually read some of the stuff that was the discourse between, between a student and a teacher. This is basically about studying and basically what I usually do. To study the Buddha way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by myriad things. When actualized by myriad things, your body and mind, as well as the bodies and minds of others, drop away. No trace of realization remains, and this no trace continues endlessly. This was in page 70 of Moon and the Dewdrop, edited by Kazuki Tanahashi. And what it actually is telling me is to keep studying and don't really focus too heavily on those who criticize you for studying what you like. Back when I was a teenager in high school, I remember walking into a classroom, and my mother had just bought a book on Buddhism, and I had kind of glanced through it, and I had this really overly Christian teacher not quite grasp the fact that I'm sitting there understanding the texts put in front of me, but she was so sanitized by, literally I view it as being sanitized by water, by extra clean water, my mental state. People forget when you argue with somebody who has been raised around a Buddhist, around all these different faiths and different mentalities. I don't view Buddhism as a religion, honestly. To me, I view it as a philosophy. I don't follow it as a religion either. Again, I understand the whole concept of studying and enlightenment. It's like Dogen says on page 71, enlightenment is like the moon reflected on the water. The moon does not get wet, nor does the water get broken, nor does the water break. That basically it's saying, knowledge is like water. It can be as clear as a pool or as muddy as you make it. Personally, for me, I prefer looking at the reflection of the moon on water. So generally, I try to keep my mind as clear as possible. So when this person argued with me, and I'm sitting there reading what I'm writing, and I'm like, okay, he really wants to pick a fight with somebody, and he says, whoa, you do care if you are writing. And I said, actually, I don't. I started caring when you picked a fight and started putting empty words out. Truthfully, this is what I see about cyberbullies. When you actually get down to the nitty-gritty and you start using what you know about your life and about your facts, and you start putting in and tiling it up on them, they'll start actually, their entire argument just falters on the scale of this. Now, this is what I have to say to Catharsis about this. If he reads my messages regarding what was told to me and what was said to me, that I, as a furry, should go die, what I have to say, I am a furry. I'm proud to be a furry, but I'm not one of those furries. I don't go to conventions. I don't go to all those events. The reason is I just don't find it as entertaining. For me, and this is actually from the day part of the Tao-Te-Chin on page 3. And it says, the person of superior integrity does not insist upon his integrity. I don't insist I have integrity. I don't even act upon it. For this reason, he has integrity, i.e., inaction. The person with inferior integrity never loses sight of his integrity. For this reason, he lacks integrity. The person of superior integrity does not take action. Nor has he a purpose for acting. Again, myself. The person of superior humaneness takes action, but has no purpose for acting. The person of superior righteousness takes action and has a purpose for acting. The person of superior etiquette takes action, but others do not respond to him. I.e. myself, when I tell people, can you go back to a corner and rethink your agenda here? Whereupon he rolls up his sleeves and coerces them. Actually, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in coercing action for the sake of action. In fact, when you're looking at the inferior man who laughs at everything, the inferior man is not in any better light than the person who is doing this. I'm not going to go on and read the rest of this because all it talks about is how people lose sight of the way and how people replace integrity with inferiority. And honestly, for me, as someone who studies all these different Asian texts just for shits and giggles, I'm just going to point this out to this person, Pixel Wolf 155 smiley face or whatever the hell you put there. You're actually kicking a dead horse at some point, and you're like the fool who tries to better the teacher, and the teacher just looks at you and says, "Come again." Like I said with Confucianism. Here it is. All right. This is actually from the Analects, page 73, 1.8. The master said exemplary persons, Zhongji, lack in gravity, would have no dignity. Yet, in their studies, they are not inflexible. Take doing your utmost and making good on your word. Jing, as your mainstay. Do not have as a friend anyone who is not as good as you are. And where you have erred, do not hesitate to mend your ways. Personally, I prefer people who go around going, okay, yeah, I made a mistake and I'm terribly sorry. I'm not a fucking idiot. But when you have people online using catchphrases like, oh, go die, blah, 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 you're a furry, go kill yourself, blah, 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 you're actually hurting your own cause. Because as I wrote down in many of my things, and I'm probably going to take a lot more notes on this, as I start actually analyzing and doing an actual real chapter of study, which, by the way, I'm going to be posting something on Facebook in a while, actual Facebook Live stuff, or I'm just going to do it on here, I don't know, I haven't decided, but what it is I like to study these. This is Kenji Miyazawa, he's a poet. He was a poet that influenced my love for anime in quite a large way, with the writing of another book that I absolutely enjoy, Night on the Galactic Railroad. This is not the annotated version that I usually use. I have another version that's annotated, which has a lot of my annotations in it and a lot of my notes. But I lost that copy somewhere in my move and a bedbug infestation, so that was a while back. But what I'm going to mention is when I tell people to actually look at your own studies, and I don't mean if anyone is actually really serious about wanting to follow me on Facebook or on YouTube on studying all this work. I am not a scholar. I just like studying this stuff, so I don't intend to be a I don't intend for people to actually you know, follow me on this. I mean, I will tell you that I will mark up my books on Confucian things that will actually pertain to now. Because, honestly, here's one of the things that I love, and this is how I actually view some governing bodies at times. The master said, governing with excellence, day, can be compared to being the North Star. The North Star dwells in its place, and the multitude of stars pay it tribute. So, right now, I don't see that with our government. I'm really sorry. People can get mad at me all they want or yell at me, but sorry, I am diverging a bit on this, but I'm also pointing out a lot of the lessons that I've learned from Confucianism and Buddhism, particularly from teachers such as Dogen and everything else, which honestly, I have marked up this book pretty badly. I will say it's in good condition, but I'm not going to sell it anytime soon for people who are looking for it. One of the things I do point out, and I usually don't talk about death and rebirth, time, and everything else, I am going to talk about this because honestly, bullies don't exactly understand why I use a Taoist point of view on things. They can always tell, I always tell people, yeah, you can use this against me if you want, but then I always end up countering that with something that is actually educated. This is probably because I learned a lot from actually just discoursing myself on the matter, and what kind of texts I would use to do that. Like I said, in many ways, I'm probably going to open up each of the episodes with a quote from the Tao and a little bit of a saying from the Tao that actually makes sense for people. One of the things I do mention is when you have somebody who is not gracious or kind, and they want to use your integrity against you, you usually do not need to actually go so far as to say anything. Because, like I said, this is actually from number 47, or 10 in the Tao-Te-Chin of mine, which says, without going out of doors, one may know all under heaven. Without peering through the windows, one may know the way of heaven. The further one goes, the less one knows. For this reason, the sage knows without journeying, understands without looking, accomplishes without acting. This is actually, for me, a good precursor to the fact that I'm going to have to close this soon. But I'm going to go on a discourse here on saying, okay, so without actually really meeting Catharsis, who did the video outing himself from the furry fandom, I understand where he's coming from, personally. On a personal level, I understand his stance. But on a near personal level of not knowing him as a personal person, I can say, yeah, his way is not my way, but I will support his way of thinking anyway, because quite frankly, it's not hurting me by saying what he just said about how bad the fandom gets. But, again, number 1.5 on page 72 of the Analects says, the master said the way, Tao, to lead 1,000 chariot state effectively is to carry out your official duties respectfully and make good on your word, Yen. Be frugal in your expenditures and love your peers and put common people to work only at the proper time of year. Well, this may not seem like anything to you, but to me, for catharsis, I'm going to say this. One, it speaks out about respect and being respectful of yourself. Self-respect is very important. Also, carry out your official duties, i.e., be yourself. Don't be, just because you're a furry, stay in the fandom for my sake. Well, actually, don't stay in the fandom at all if you don't want to. It's not up to me. It's not up to you. It's up to you. So, yeah. I'm just going to say this in the way I am going to do it. I'm probably going to end up earning a persona of some sort in the future, being a Taoist fur, and being a furry of Eastern whatever the hell I'm doing right now, and actually diatribing a bit on the triases and irritations that he is going through. Alright, what I am also going to point out, and this is kind of, actually, I think the death in rebirth is a good idea. Where is that? I really think it would work. Because basically, because a Buddha is in birth and death, there is no birth and death. It is also said because the Buddha is not in birth and death, a Buddha is not deluded by birth and death. Okay, that makes no sense. Sorry, I have to admit that doesn't make sense, but I'm going to say this. If anyone is leaving the fandom, I'd say it's called a death of self, or death of finding a newer place in your life. I'm going to mark that so that I can actually use it for future reference. Sorry, I'm actually marking up a lot of my texts so that I can use it for future reference when I do a discourse and discussion with any other furry that comes along who wants to argue or discuss what it means to do stuff like this. I do think that I would do a really good episode on activities that I think benefit the fandom in some ways, but also, oh, there it is. That's the one I was looking for, the self-study. I like doing studies, and I also like talking about this kind of stuff with furs that are interested, but I'm also doing an episode on Nichiren Buddhism coming up because of a certain little aspect of Nichiren, people actually think it's a cult. It's actually not a cult. I'm just gonna point that out. Nichiren is based off the Lotus Sutras that were written by a man in the 1222 to 1282 in Japan. So I'll go into that later on once I finish the discourse and further readings that I'm actually doing right now. So in full, I'm going to point this out to the bully that tried to derail me on this. Here's my mental thought for you, and I think you need to actually look at one of the Tao, and I believe it's, not the Door of Heaven. Like I said, number 1 of the Tao, page 59, number 1, and also, oh, shoot, oh, there's that one about the mysterious female. Okay, that's one that actually is for something else. I'm just gonna mark that now. Okay, so yeah, yeah, I'm finding all sorts of stuff today. Sorry, got me on a study binge. Okay, so basically, what I'm going to mention is, I think it's the first page I was on originally. Page 3, number 1 in the day in integrity. I would actually mention that you should read number 1 or number 38, depending on which book you get. So, so you could better, yes, battle me further on knowledge and crap. So, I'm going to mention, I might also do a little bit of, discussion on stages of meditations on emptiness, the two truths, and other, interesting things I find buried in. Not to mention a little bit of sarcasm from this guy. But, I'm going to mention this to anyone who saw what I wrote on Catharsis's page regarding, being called an idiot, blah, blah, blah. Truthfully, this person did not understand exactly what I was talking about. Not to mention the fact that, yes, I have been threatened. I've been told to commit suicide several times as a child. It is not a funny thing. It is not fun to actually earn. And the fact he put it in bold that he was sorry and was being sarcastic, I was kind of unimpressed. Again, people like that just think that they are ha-ha funny, not realizing there are human beings behind each panel. Each person has a right to say what they have to say. And if you do not like furries, I don't rightly give a crap. Because, I'd rather be a Taoist furry than be a fucking moron. Thank you.